Hi everyone, I just came back from Egypt, another powerful experience and activation, and I wanted to share some words about that trip. What was activated, what I feel is happening in the land of Egypt, and why it is important today. So, I organized a trip, temple trip, with my very dear friend Camille Zolesi and a group of women, and the intention that we placed was for each woman and participant through the connection with the temples to really reconnect to their power, their inner medicine, their soul light, and really step into a new kind of mastery, really awaken the queen codes by going to the land of the queens, of the pharaohs. And the reason why for me that trip was so successful was for multiple reasons. One is that there is really something awakening in the earth. Those of us who have been running pilgrimages or earth healers who have been traveling to different power points on the planet and offering their time and their attention to temples for many years, we can feel it. There's something activating more and more within each of the temples. And every person who carries a certain consciousness and who walks into these spaces helps reactivate those places to and realign them to their original template. Not that that is no longer there, but it's been covered under layers of dust, layers of illusion. The same with the human being. When we're walking a spiritual path, slowly, little by little, we start stripping away layers of illusion and we come more into our true selves. We connect more to our true light. It's what is happening to these places as well. What we understand through this is that we are one. The earth, the planet, and us are one. We are part of the body of the earth. And as we awaken, we reawaken the earth as well. As the earth awakens, so do we. And I wanted to share some of the highlights of that trip. One that comes to mind very clearly was a nighttime visit to the Temple of Isis. So, with our group, we went there after sunset in the dark, which was a very powerful, interesting experience because a lot of those ancient civilizations, of course, used to practice darkness initiations. Isis is the winged goddess, but she is also the goddess of the subconscious, of the invisible. She is an aspect of the Black Madonna also. What she initiated us into through that nighttime visit in her temple, where the senses are much less distracted by all the beauty that surrounds us or by the noise because we were all alone. There's something else that activates. There's something that lies beyond the visible senses that comes alive, that comes into being. We tune into the frequency of the place. We tune into the energy of the place. And really, we walk into the temple as the ancient priests and priestesses would have walked into the temple, with the reverence, the stillness, the sacred stillness that would be required to meet the goddess in the Holy of Holies. And what happens when we're in that sacred stillness is that there's an opening to receive. We make space to receive what is really there. Walking into that temple at night, circling in silence in the Holy of Holies, and just opening ourselves to receive what was there was incredibly potent and incredibly powerful. You could really feel that you were in the body of the goddess, which is what the temples were designed to do. These ancient temples in Egypt were a representation of the body of the god or the goddess they were dedicated to. You were literally stepping into their living gnosis as you are stepping into the temple. Isis's energy, her name means she who sits on the throne. Her her hieroglyph, her icon is a throne. She's often represented with a throne on her head. It's all about queendom. It's all about kingdom as an energy of sovereignty. And I feel that this is what we are redefining in our world today, our idea of kingdom and of queendom. I will speak about queendom since we were with a group of women. What was really important in this group, and what I really appreciated about these women, was that there was an enormous spiritual and emotional maturity, meaning that every woman was on a different path and on a different level on her journey, meaning that some people maybe were newer to the spiritual path. Others have been on a spiritual path for a long time. Some people have already created a lot, expressing their art, their artistry, their soul ministry in this world, have already a very developed and strong voice in the world. And others are still finding a way to do this or mustering the courage to do this. But within this whole constellation, there is no feeling of hierarchy. Every woman valued every other woman. That to me is true queendom. A queen is a woman who no longer needs to compare herself to others. A queen is someone who doesn't need anyone else to tell them that they are valuable. A queen is a woman who is not afraid of a woman standing in her power, speaking her truth, and radiating her light. A queen is not threatened by another woman's light. She is inspired by it. And this is what I saw in the group. Women were inspired by each other's light. They were curious about each other, curious to find out what the frequency, what the medicine of the other woman was. This, to me, is really healing as a community of women to be able to witness this. We know that there is a very strong sisterhood wound in humanity amongst the feminine population. And I've spoken about this in the past, and I'll put a link to the video that I made about sisterhood, true sisterhood, soul sisterhood, the one that inspires and the one that uplifts. Queendom is this. It's not I take my throne and so I am more important to you. Queendom is I have walked my path, and my path has allowed me to now know who I am. I know my medicine. I share this with the world, because with queendom comes a sense of divine responsibility. I have certain gifts. They are not just for me. They are here to serve the world and to serve the collective as well. And I use these gifts as well to support and to uplift others. I don't need to be surrounded by people who are my equals all the time. That is not our society. That is not a reflection of our world. That is not a reflection of our society. I like to be surrounded by women who are highly successful so that they can inspire me, that are really expressing their art, expressing their medicine because it nourishes me. And I surround myself with women who are still on their path so that I can inspire them and that I can uplift them just as others did for me on my path. This is important. We are in sacred reciprocity. A queen does not judge another woman according to where she is on her path. There is no jealousy if a woman is doing better, if her light is shining brighter in this world. It serves as an inspiration, as an example. That woman, thank God she is there, because she is opening the path. She is a way shower. She is moving, making space for more women to join that space. And a woman who is not there yet, well, she is also a part of me. And she is part of the body of the world just as I am. So when I help her and I give her advice and I can help her to have that little bit more confidence in herself and in her medicine, I help the whole body of the world, myself included, move forward. So that is something that was really strong within this experience. And I believe truly it's the energy that the ancient queens of Egypt were in. The queen was a representation of Divine Mother, also of Divine Mother as the fertility of life and the fertility of the earth. When the Divine Feminine principle was honored and respected, there was enough abundance for the whole of the country, for the whole of the population. Divine Mother is overflowing. She's abundant. She's limitless. It's this overflowing energy. When we're in it, we can share it with others. We don't mind that our fountain can also help water the gardens of other people. On the contrary, what a privilege to be able to do that. That is a queen, and that is really what we connected to very strongly, amongst others, by visiting the Valley of the Queens as well. Now, for those of you that have visited Luxor or Egypt, or that have heard of the West Bank in Egypt, very likely you have heard of the Valley of the Kings. Maybe less likely that you've heard about the Valley of the Queens. The Valley of the Kings is one of the most visited places in Egypt. It's super busy most of the times. The Valley of the Queens, not so much. Most groups never go there. When we went, we were all alone. There was one other woman visiting this place. With our group, what we felt, and this is a feeling that was shared in so many of the temples, was the gratitude of this place for us visiting, for us to be able to witness the life of these queens, the energy of this place. Very powerful. There was something awakened within each woman by walking the land of the Valley of the Queens, by going and visiting their tombs. Many of the tombs remain unexcavated in the Valley of the Queens because historically the priority has been given to the Valley of the Kings. But I'd say that it's an advantage today. At least these women's integrity is respected in death, and they are honored in their final resting places. While the kings, most of them have been taken out of their tombs and put in museums as an exhibition. Many of the queens as well. But still, there is something really special about many of them still being in their tombs in this valley. And you can feel the energy. There is the energy of mystery. And that is something else that I have noticed really strongly over the years. When you hold a certain energy, when you carry a certain frequency and the consciousness that is aligned to the mystery, when you walk on sacred land and you walk into earth temples, you help reactivate the memory of these temples. You help reactivate the source frequency of these lands simply by being present in these spaces. You don't even have to say anything. There's no ritual that needs to be performed. There's no performance that needs to happen in these places. Just you being there is enough to shift the frequency of this place that bit closer to its source frequency, to open something in the Akashic records and in the big library of the memory of that space. And it happens within the body as well. As you walk those lands, your inner library opens and you start to remember as well what the purpose of this place was, what happened there. So we are collectively in this big journey of remembering. So I'd say that was one of the major learnings of this time in Egypt. I've been going to Egypt for 10 years. Every time it's different, but every time the energy is amplified, I'd say. There's something activating stronger and stronger, but also some places ask of us to develop a sacred relationship with them. Temple spaces ask of us to come back multiple times to become a student of their mystery school, of their energy. I've had this with Glastonbury for 8 years. I've lived in Glastonbury and I've tended to the temple of Glastonbury. And I know many people can relate, have been called there as well, and have spent time on those lands. And those great temple spaces of initiation are not the easiest places to live in, but what they will do is initiate you into deeper layers of your truth. And the same with Egypt. The fact that I've been going back for 10 years, multiple times a year, is because I feel that I'm a student of the mystery school of Egypt. Every time I remember more, every time I learn more. So it's also just a side note, but for you to listen to the lands that are calling you, which temples are calling you. Going there once is great, it's fantastic, but probably the mystery school is asking of you to develop a relationship with it if you've had a really strong connection. Another learning that was really strong and that kind of happened throughout the journey, and I felt it actually the whole of this year through all my different pilgrimages and trips and connections. I feel it here in my house, is the coming online of the light body again. Many spiritual traditions have a light body activation initiation technology. Yeshua, after his resurrection, was fully reactivated in his light body. Mary Magdalene, during her lifetime, did the journey of purification to bring back online her light body. Yeshua did it in the spiritual planes. So he shared his light body more in the spiritual dimensions and in the spiritual spheres. Mary Magdalene reactivated her light body in the spiritual body, in the spiritual sphere. It was meant to happen this way because they were complementary. Yeshua and Mary Magdalene also is one joint and united light body, which is the Magdalene Christ light body. I have noticed this within myself, my light body coming back online. And what that means concretely is that, well, we basically go back to our source frequency, to our source energy. We are beings of light. And we have forgotten about this, and our light has been hidden under layers of illusion and layers of spiritual dust, of forgetfulness, of oblivion. As we start to remember, as we start to strip away, and remembering only is not enough, as we start to embody, meaning as we start to walk our talk, as we start to take action on the messages that we actually receive, our light body starts to activate more and more, which means that frequencies of light are being released from within the mitochondria of our cellular structure. I can't explain it scientifically. It's what I see, it's what I perceive, it's what I feel happening. This is possible now because there is a planetary readiness for this, because everything has been prepared for us to be able to achieve this level of enlightenment. Enlightenment today is happening from within the body, and it is not taking us vertically, as in shooting us out of our body into spheres of enlightenment. Our enlightenment is happening horizontally today. After we enlighten our bodies and our spheres and our lives and our material life, these ripples and these light codes that have been freed from within our body are now meant to ripple out horizontally and inform the reality around us, the physical reality around us. So you can see how it is related to this coming online of these true queen codes and these true king codes. True sovereignty is collective. True responsibility is collective. We are not here just for ourselves. We are parts of this collective, and we are working for this collective in sacred reciprocity with all of life that surrounds us. So, how does this work concretely? How do I achieve the awakening of my light body so that I become a vehicle of light? What happens is when this starts to become active is that you automatically trigger processes of enlightenment, of the seeding of light, of the liberation of source light in other people you meet and in places. As in, you are some kind of cosmic key opening and releasing the light that was trapped within layers of illusion, within falsehood, basically. And falsehood doesn't always have to be a spoken or an imagined lie. It can be a frequency, it can be a distortion, it can be a dormant state. But you are opening that, and you are also facilitating a process of ego destruction, as in shedding the layers of untruth and of illusion in the environments, in the people that you meet. And this is meant to happen. We live in the age of the revelation, in the age of the apocalypse. Apocalypse means revelation of truth, revelation of what is, as opposed to what is not, which is what we have been living for a couple of thousand years. And for me, of course, one of the most important teachings that has allowed me to awaken my light body are the Magdalene Christ teachings. It is the awakening of the Magdalene Christ energy body through the activation of the rose codes, through the activation of the Magdalene consciousness within. Another powerful aspect of this sacred temple trip, which is what I try to do most of the times I go to Egypt, is spending time on the Nile. The Nile was such a sacred river for the ancient Egyptians because it was seen as the mirror of the Milky Way, but also as a metaphor for the journey of the soul through life. All the temples were built close to the Nile, most of the temples, so that they could receive the energy of the Nile. And that it really mirrored also the journey through our body. The Nile is a representation of the spinal column as well, and the chakras that are placed along that spinal column, these temples in the body, the temples of becoming, where we reconnect to the truth of who we are, temples of purification, where we can purify what is not us to come into our deepest truth. But also the Nile is a representation of the flow of Holy Spirit, of the Kundalini, of Shekhinah, of this energy of life as it flows through our body, as it flows through our consciousness, and the importance of releasing obstructions within our being to allow this flow to move through us, to allow ourselves to move with the river instead of swimming against the stream. One of the most important laws in ancient Egypt was not to pollute the Nile and not to build any obstructions on the Nile, which meant symbolically as well not building any obstructions in the flow of our own river and our own stream, and not polluting the flow of our spirit, the flow of our soul, the flow of the divine with energies that aren't. What I have been noticing this year, more than any other moment in time, is that there are fractures in time space. I feel myself time hopping. I see fractures in the time space continuum, like literal openings between the dimensions. There's something really powerful happening. There's an influx of light on the planet that hasn't been to this level ever before. It is shifting profoundly, deeply, and very fast who we are. This is the time to commit to your spiritual journey. This is the time to do the work. Don't hide away. If you have something to share that can help your fellow humans or that can help your planet, if you have work to do to bring more beauty, more harmony, more justice into the world, this is the time to do it. There's something accelerating, which means we are really coming very close to a final tipping point. And it's important that we each feel that, take notice of that. There's a shift in the frequency of the planet. If you're not feeling it, it means you're not listening. Take the time to sit and listen, and take the time to feel this and integrate it in the body. Now is the time to accentuate your relationship with these sacred temples, with these sacred spaces. Now is the time to do the work. Now is the time to step into your ministry and share your frequency, share your magic, share your medicine. It is needed. We are coming very close to a big event, which for me, I've always sensed it will be in 2027. I've always received messages around 2027. So take this seriously. If you care about awakening, if you care about the journey of consciousness, if you care about our planets and how we are living on this planet, about humanity, about life in general, it's important that you start paying attention to this, and that in some way, in your own way, you start taking action and you really commit to awakening this knowledge within you, awakening this gnosis within you. This is who you are. This is your truth. Whichever path you choose, find the path that takes you to the truest form of who you are. And if you've already found that, find a way to share it with others.